Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought we would go through an infographic that Gaijin has put out today. This is basically talking about 2024, giving us some general stats and information on what has been going on in War Thunder, how many people have been playing, what vehicles they've been playing, and all of that type of stuff. I find this type of information really interesting and kind of like paints a picture of what's kind of going on in the game and also what people are heading for. One of the things that happens in War Thunder a lot is people ask about, is the game growing? You know, how many people are going around? And one of the old things I used to get taught about a lot was the idea of War Thunder is dying, or if they don't do this, War Thunder will die. And here we are in 2024, where everything is flourishing when it comes to War Thunder. In another video, we'll be having a look at the Steam side of things, just to show how War Thunder has continued to be as big as possible, really, and it's been able to hold on to one of the spots for the longest time in the gold section of the revenue generation. So, let's have a look at War Thunder in 2024. What does it bring? What does it not bring? And the achievements that have been around. So the first part of it is pretty obvious. The major updates. There have been 5 major updates, which has been the same since maybe around 2014, 2015. I don't think they're going to change how many major updates come out in a year in the near future. And the other stark thing is the minor updates. So this is like the change logs. These are the things that have moved around. 335 minor updates. So that basically means that you are getting one nearly every day of minor updates to the game, which shows the scale of what War Thunder is. There is not a single game out there which per year does this amount of updates, adds this much content. It is crazy when you actually think about it, which is why one of the conversations that is becoming more and more prevalent is the fact, is it too much? Is it actually better if general mechanics are changed to actually fit what is coming into the game? So there have been 260 new vehicles this year. We actually had a look at the major updates and how many vehicles were added. It was just over 200, so the 260 includes Battle Pass stuff, includes event stuff, it includes things like that. And so 206 new vehicles, so one every, 1.5 days in the game? Just think about that. How crazy is that? Absolutely nuts at the end of the day. And this is where it gets interesting. So the most popular vehicles in terms of War Thunder. Now, for me, I was kind of shocked by this for several reasons. Because of the fact that all of the other data that we've had on what was the most popular vehicles was generally more lower tier ones, and that was like kind of the ones that were forced about. Well, now it has shifted, at least in terms of some of the game, not all of it, and you can see it shifted heavily to premiums overall. So, the most popular vehicles for ground, you have the TURM 3. For aircraft, the F4S Phantom 2. For the helicopters, the Mi-24A, randomly, and then also for naval vessels, the Satsuki. So, let's go through these different vehicles. The TURM 3 is a very powerful vehicle, right? It's an amazing one at the end of the day, and it's no surprise people are using it as a grinder to be able to get through the tech tree. It's also a pack vehicle, so therefore it's accessible to pretty much everybody, and at the same time, it's one of those which is always going to take over games. Now, you've also got to remember that the TURM 3, where it is in the game right now, is different compared to when it started the year, and also a bunch of other vehicles are too. So for stuff like the TAM 2 IP, for example, which is another very powerful German premium, that one just recently, over the last few months, got a very, very powerful meta around it and wasn't getting hammered as much by a lot of the high-tier premiums, right? So that will probably be one of the vehicles next year, which is one of the most popular. Now, the TURM 3 being the most popular ground vehicle shows, obviously Germany is a very, very powerful nation, and also is the most played. We've known this for the long time for Germany. It's why a lot of the conversations around ground are either about why are German players so stupid, or why do people play Germany, or why do people get attracted by the Tiger, all of these different things, right? If you actually have a look at the general topics that people bring up, there's only like 3 nations that ever really get mentioned. You have America, Germany, and USSR, right? Just from like the overall things. So not a surprise to see the Term 3 in this. But yeah, it's a powerful premium. People feel like they need to play premiums in order to grind through the tech trees right now. And that is, as I said, a problem with the game and needs to be refocused on what's going on. If your most popular vehicles are all premiums, apart from one, then there is a fundamental problem, and it's that people are picking premiums to grind through the game instead of playing all the content which is in the game. So we have a fundamental problem here in terms of what people are picking to play and why they are picking them. Now, from a money point of view, I suppose it, makes sense for Gaijin because they're actually getting, people to buy these things, and therefore they want to kind of get the return on investment. But the problem with it is it means that people are missing out on the vast majority of content to try and grind to the highest echelon as possible, to play the highest echelon as possible, and then they just crash out because they get very negative, because they don't understand any of the mechanics in the game, and they just end up dying over and over again. It's very annoying, and it happens all the time. One of the things that this also tells you is the 8.3 BR is one that can be targeted quite aggressively, because you know that there's going to be a lot of people playing it. Another thing that I've found is at 7.7, playing stuff like the Panzerhaubitze recently, it's actually been a pretty stable BR because of the fact that 8.3 is so strong at the moment. So then we have aircraft, the F4S Phantom II. Is anybody surprised? I don't. If you've played any jets around the F4S BR, it shouldn't have been a surprise at all that this thing is the most popular. It fills teams. And it's also been on sale a few times, and America is the best aviation nation just overall, so of course people are going to buy it to be able to get to the highest echelons. This also once again shows a fundamental problem though, right, with that area, and it's the fact that you have these multi-role vehicles, these fighters, which also can do everything else, so therefore this limits the amount of general vehicles around the BR that actually have a role in the game. So instead of them actually having a place, they are just replaced by the F4S. And this leads to many problems, such as standard tech tree vehicles never getting played around these BRs, and also the grind never changing because nobody's actually touching them, they're just going past them with the F4S, and also the F4S's matchmaking gets better and better and better because there's more stats around it, and therefore it's easier to balance compared to everything else around it, which just gets annihilated by stuff like the F4S. So once again, all of the problems that you have with a high-tier premium ground vehicle, you have with a high-tier aircraft premium vehicle being the most popular. So this is actually quite negative in my opinion. Like, it's good that people are enjoying these premiums, it's good that they're grinding efficiently through these tech trees, but the fact that these are the most popular vehicles instead of other ones in the game worries me a lot. Because it means that people think or want to grind through these tech trees very quickly. It also means that these vehicles are incredibly powerful, which having premiums as powerful vehicles at their BRs is okay, but if everything else around it is also getting hammered by them, that's a real problem, right? So yeah, this part right here worries me. The Mi-24A being the most popular vehicle, I really don't have any thoughts about that, apart from it's pretty solid at 9.3, like, as a vehicle. Like, it works very well, and I'm guessing because of the fact that it has, some of the nice missiles there and can outrange a few things, then that's why it's, being played there. It also has quite a low heat signature, so IR missiles have to get very close to it in order to be able to take it out, so maybe it's something to do with that. The Satsuki, so I have two theories on this. First of all, obviously Japan is a nation which is quite easy to grind through once you get the Type 93 torpedoes, but I honestly think this is because of botting, and I know that sounds really weird, but basically back in the day, one of the things that used to happen was with Sweden, people would use the refer accounts to create new accounts, So then they would get rewards on their main account, and they would grind through Sweden Air because it would take absolutely no time to be able to do that. Because you would get to the B18, you get to the T18, they were like rank 3 and rank 4 vehicles, and you could get the rewards super quickly, and then you would just move on to the next account. This is why, if you ever played like Minter Aviation, you found a lot of like B18s and T18s just doing weird things all the time, whether they were scripting or whether they were just doing stuff like that. And it was because that was a way that people were using the referral system and abusing it to be able to actually get these higher rewards. And I'm pretty sure that's happening, or has happened for the longest time in Naval as well. You will find this with the Satsuki. You will also find this with the starter premium for the USSR, where you have these very low ranking accounts which play these nations as their first vehicle, get the premium, and then just basically script with them to be able to get to the next level and just grind out the tech tree by themselves. So the fact that the Satsuki is the most popular vehicle, which is the premium version of the one in the Japanese tech tree, the starter vehicle, isn't necessarily a positive. It might actually be a very negative thing, because this is what has happened in the past with Naval, but they have done a huge crackdown on bots over this year and also last year, so maybe that isn't the case. Maybe it's something else, but that vehicle right there, that's what it tells me when I see that vehicle, because it makes no sense for that vehicle to be the most played apart from that fact, right? And also, I suppose it is a low tier vehicle, it's a starter premium, so therefore people are getting into the tech tree quickly and giving it a go. Maybe that's the case, but there are just so many better options for the game in that way. So it's kind of weird how that is kind of the place out. So very odd, this one, unless it's what I talked about. You also have 47 new missions, 292 new decals and decorations, and 451 new camouflages, which is just crazy. Like, you know, once again, just an insane amount of content in 1 year of play, and keeping up with it is pretty nuts. And then you also have the number of unique players who've taken part in battles. So this is the amount of people who have loaded into a battle. 17 million people, 88,128. So over this year, the amount of unique people who played at least one battle in War Thunder is 17 million people. That's nuts, man. That is just nuts. Just as a number, right? Just as a single number across all platforms, that is crazy. And I know that's not like the concurrent amount, but you can actually see here the total number of battles was 122 million, 242,000, and then 422 million time spent in game hours, which is 48,000 years. And the peak concurrent amount of people at one time was 257,000 people. It would have been really nice if they did like a special decal for hitting that 200,000 and also 250,000 like they did with 100,000, but maybe in the future they will. But aren't these stats just nuts? Like, just thinking about it, isn't that crazy? Like it's nuts the amount of people who are playing War Thunder right now. And I don't even know how to put it. And then squad rewards, there's been over 1 billion squad rewards. 1,435,591,298. So well done on the squadding. Make sure to keep it up. And then also the help with repaired is over 150 million as well, which is just great too. So it would be nice if they put the fire one in as well, because I bet you it's way less than that. It's so much harder to use the fire one instead of the repair one. But yeah, it would have been cool to see. And then also they put in some general stats. So, you know, the amount of vehicles destroyed. So aircraft, there was, what, 2 million? No, 2 trillion? 2 billion, I think. 2 billion. 2,178,226,738 aircraft destroyed. There was 5 billion, 217,731,205 ground vehicles destroyed. So it shows, by the way, with this, which is the dominant game mode. And then naval is down to 102 million. So yeah, you can see just from these general stats, you can see the difference between the playability or the play of each of the game modes, right? So you have a lot for aircraft, but you have nearly double the amount of ground vehicles. But also remember, like when it does come to ground, usually there's more spawns, usually there's more people flying about the place. Usually missions are a lot quicker, especially if you compare like realistic and simulator. So it might not be that there's like more players playing aircraft or more players playing ground. It's just the fact that maybe there's just less destructions, because there generally are. It's much easier to get a kill in ground than it is in air, right? So these stats aren't exactly concrete in terms of like how many people are playing each, but it does show that these are very close, whereas naval is very much behind, which is probably why in the next year or so they're probably going to focus a lot on naval to get it up. Vehicles scouted, 4,335,000. Only that? Only that? Only 4 million? We've had 5 billion destroyed, brothers. What are we doing? Come on. Vehicle scouting is a ridiculously broken mechanic in the game. It basically gives you information that you're not supposed to have about where people are. And with the explosion of light tanks that we've had over the period, please, could we just start scouting more? We should not have 5 billion people destroyed and only 4 million, 4 million scouted. That's ridiculous. Come on. We need to step up on that. Total mass of explosive dropped onto bases, 133 million, mainly down to F4Ss. Number of nukes dropped is 1,480,000. I would like to see this number go down. I know that sounds really weird, but while I've been like playing War Thunder over this year, I feel like there's been way too many nukes. They don't feel as special as they did at the start. Just because I just see 1 or 2 or 3 every day while I'm playing. And that just, I get it feels really nice to get them, I get that generally it's quite an enjoyable time for people, but at the same time it doesn't feel special at that point. You don't really feel like it's something that a lot of people have been able to do. Like now there's like, there's people who have hundreds of nukes, and it's like, well, who cares then? If you've done a feat 100, 200, 300 times, is it special at that point? So that's something I would like to see kind of changed. It's something that we've talked about quite a few times. And then achievements wise, reach level 100 in 2024, 170,000 people, 793 players, reach level 100. That is a lot, right? And at least for me, I've been level 100 for about 10 years now, maybe 8 years, 9 years, something. So yeah, one of the things that I would like to say is I hope now with like the new system, the new profile, the new additions they've done to it, I really hope what they do is they expand it, so therefore we actually have access to a prestige system, so you could go past level 100, because if there's this many people doing it and they're all just stuck on level 100, it's not very special once again. There needs to be extra tiers, and we've talked about this in the past, we talked about it in the present, and we'll talk about it in the future too. You can see all of these as well. Decals got 224 million, decorations 6 million, titles nearly 8 million, nuts. And then also the achievements and challenges as well. Just shows you how crazy the amount that people are grinding out. This challenges, I believe, is just for the battle pass, right? Or it might be for everything, but that's still an insane amount. Then you have the stream viewers for the tournaments, where I do like how they say watching tournaments and receiving drops rewards. I love it how they have to put in this, because once again, we talked about it before, people are just there to get free stuff. So it's just how it is. And then also the longest shot by a tank at an aircraft, the Swedish CV9105 took down an A6E tram with a DM33 round from 13,697 meters. He must have been going back to the airfield. And then the longest shot by a rocket was an F4EJ Phantom II ADTW that destroyed a Tunguska from 16,490 meters. God damn. Isn't that insane? They should actually give these players like little rewards and stuff. Like maybe like name them and be like, yeah, this person did it and we're going to give them some G. I think that generally would be quite cool. But these types of stats are always kind of interesting. Like, it's nice to see at the end. But the ones that I'm more interested in are ones like this, right? Like the big stats, which kind of show what has been going on with War Thunder. One of the things that War Thunder also used to do is they used to do a personal infographic. So you could kind of see what you did during that year. And I think that would be actually really cool to do too. It lasted for a few years a while ago, and then they kind of went away from it. But I'm happy that they've brought out more infographics, and I hope they bring out more in the future, because getting more information is always nice. The only thing I would say is with this, hopefully this next year is not premiums. Hopefully it's more standard tech tree stuff. Hopefully this gives them a kind of show that they do need to switch up the research system at least a little bit in the next year. Because, first of all, this is very dominant to the major nations, and also at the same time, it's dominant by premiums, which is super sad. But all of the other stats are really cool to see, and generally just paint a very positive picture for War Thunder. You know, it's in its, 12th, 13th year at this point, and it only gets stronger and stronger. There's only more stuff going on, there's only more things moving around, and hopefully that can continue as the future goes along. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.